I'm Becca from De La Plants on Instagram and Becca De La Plants on YouTube. I'm an Aries, but I feel more like a Pisces sometimes, so I'm a little bit on the cusp. Sometimes I feel like I'm both. I'm from Tucson, Arizona, and I still live in Tucson, Arizona. I started collecting houseplants in February 2018-ish. I actually purchased a rubber tree, this rubber tree right here, from Sprouts Farmers Market, and that was really my first houseplant, and that was probably February or March 2018, yeah. And ever since then I've been super obsessed with houseplants. I just keep growing my collection and just learning and growing. There was a particular shift after I graduated college that houseplants just kind of became so much more important to me. I graduated college in May 2018, so just a few months after I started collecting, and I was just experiencing a lot of weird emotions that I hadn't experienced before. You know, kind of similar to like depression, I guess. I wouldn't say I was depressed, but there is a certain amount of sadness that comes with a stage in your life ending. So I was kind of mourning the end of college and the end of that phase of my life, and plants really helped me get through that and learn that there is more to life than being a student, because I really loved being a student, and it was just a really sweet way to transition into real adulthood life and taking care of things that are not myself and just moving on. There have certainly been moments where I have been a bit overwhelmed with my collection, and yeah, I would say that at some points it was unhealthy. I think that any time that you're spending a lot of money on something and you're not really considering if you need it or not, and if this is helpful for you, and you're just impulse buying, I think that that can definitely be unhealthy, and I have been in many stages like that. I think that it's super easy to quickly accumulate a lot of plants, especially at the beginning. So, you know, a lot of people joke that you go from like 0 to 100 houseplants, and that is because it's very true, you do. And I think every time I've moved, I've kind of just like come to terms with how many plants I have, and downsizing and trading. I think that trading plants has been really great. As much as I want it to feel like a greenhouse, I don't want it to feel cluttered in here, so I try my best to keep my plants evenly dispersed throughout my house, and, you know, rather than all being on one shelf, because I do have a big apartment to spill all of my plants into. I'm very lucky for that. My friends and family are very supportive and honestly amused by my plant passion. I think that if I was taking this outside of myself, if I had a friend or family member who was really into something and really poured a lot of their time into it, of course I would support them and love what they're doing. So I think that my friends and family are equally shocked and excited about the attention that De La Plants has gotten. I certainly had no idea that it would become this, so I am consistently downplaying whatever's happening. So but my mom is very like, own it girl, like you got this thing and you need to own it, you need to tell everybody about it. So she tells everybody she knows that I have this Instagram and YouTube account, and it's sometimes embarrassing, but I'm still like, thanks mom. So I met my husband in April of 2017, which was a little bit before I started, you know, the whole plant thing. And so this has kind of come on slowly for us. It's been a gradual thing, and we didn't move in together until we were married, which was in June 30th of 2019. So he has just now been completely submerged in the jungle that I have, and definitely there were some times where he was super irritated by it, but for the most part it's been really great. He's been really patient. Above all things, he's been very patient with me, which I think is, I've been very lucky to have that, because my gosh, sometimes it's been a little bit weird. Indoor gardening brings me joy because I can bring these things into my home and into a place where they normally would not thrive. They are plants, so they don't live inside usually. It just feels so good that I can take care of them and have them thrive in my home. That's really the reason that it brings me so much joy. So a beautiful home, I think that homes look so much more welcoming when there is at least 1 or 2 plants, and I just have like 80, so my home is very welcoming. Oh my gosh, it's so hard to choose a favorite plant. I think that my favorite plant changes every month or every week, but right now I'm really enjoying syngoniums. I think that just any and all syngoniums are so beautiful, and I've been learning a little bit more about where they come from and how they grow in nature, and it's just, they are incredible plants. So I love that they have so many different leaf textures and colors and care needs, and even more rare syngoniums are still pretty affordable, which is not usually the case for other genuses or plant families. A lot of the more rare plants are obviously more expensive, but a lot of rare syngoniums, although they are rare and harder to find, you can usually find a nice price when you do find them. So I definitely enjoy that. It doesn't feel like I'm, you know, taking out a loan on myself every time I buy one. My life before collecting plants was wild, it was crazy. I was in college, and not that I was a wild and crazy college student, I really cared about school and I put a lot of time and effort into it, and I think that a plant would have really helped me through that process. But living in the desert, I'm surrounded constantly by native plants here, as you know, we all are surrounded by native plants in our area, but I've always taken an interest in cactus and succulents and native trees. So it's really nice to now have these things inside, because I remember in college, if I ever needed just to clear my head, I would drive up to the mountains, but it's nice to just hang out in my house and feel that same kind of refreshed feeling. I think that my past self would probably like make this face make sense, you know? I think that she would understand what's going on here, and I think that maybe at one point I saw this coming. You know, I've always wanted to have a greenhouse of some sort. I've always wanted to have a big nature place in my home. I didn't know that it would be literally inside of my home, but I think that perhaps, you know, younger me might laugh at how obsessed I am and call me weird, but she'd grow up to think it's pretty cool, so. So I guess my biggest hope is that I accurately portray myself on the internet, so that when people actually meet me, it feels the same as our interactions online, because that would be very jarring if it was the opposite. So it's definitely nerve-wracking. I'm very nervous to do it every single time, but I just convince myself to do it over and over again, and every single time I leave an interaction in person with a plant person, it feels so good, and it's worth it every time. It's worth all of the worry, you know, during the day when I was just thinking about it and overthinking and overanalyzing. It's always worth it. I think with a lot of people that I've met, it has felt very natural, almost instantly, and you can tell that a friendship can occur here when you stop talking about plants at some point, because it is true that we all love plants and that's the reason that we're friends, but there's so much more to us as people than liking plants and having so many of them. So I think that there's definitely a level of friendship that you could acquire with certain people and you just couldn't with other people, and that's totally okay. In 5 years, I hope that the plant community stays just as pure as it is now, just as kind. I hope that it is full of people who are sharing plants with each other, sharing their knowledge, and I would love to see it grow, But with that, I kind of like that it's small right now. So I'm gonna enjoy that it's small, but I'm sure that in 5 years it'll be much bigger and much grander, which is obviously a really, really great thing. So for now, I'm really happy with it, but I think in 5 years it's gonna be huge. I think that we are at the front end of this whole, indoor plant movement. So it's exciting to be in the front end, and I'm hopeful that it will continue to stay a really beautiful place. Joining the plant community on Instagram was like the very best way I have gotten any and all information about houseplants. I mean, I did a lot of Googling prior to starting my account, and then after that, I would ask for help, or people would just offer help, and it was just a really sweet way to learn. And I think that if you are wanting to learn more about houseplants and get into a community, Instagram is a really great way to do that with a specific and dedicated account.
Okay, last question. If you were a plant, what plant would you be?
Oh gosh. If I were a plant, I think that I would be just a regular old cactus. Maybe the spiralis cactus, because those are pretty cool. But just in general, I think that I really identify with cactus, being that I am from Cactus Land, Tucson, Arizona. But also I think that they are very resilient, and I've noticed just a lot of resilience in myself throughout my life to overcome situations and keep moving. And something that I just really love about cactus is they can be uprooted and moved, and they are perfectly happy. Just let them callus over a little bit, let them heal, and then they will grow roots wherever you put them. And feel that same kind of well, they live in a place where they will be, I'm gonna sneeze. But like, not actually. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, that was the last question.
Cool.